the newly elected SRC members Dumelang, Sanbonani, Mulweni, Abusheni. Thank you so much for inviting me to your campus and thank you for the warm welcome. It's good to be in Qwaqwa because it feels very much like home. Allow me to start by extending my heartfelt congratulations to the newly elected SRC of the Qwaqwa campus of the University of the Free State. And of course, I could say the entire SRC of the University of the Free State, but let me focus on the Qwaqwa campus. Your election as members of the SRC means 5 things. I've been in academia for as long as I can remember, and so I know how highly contested as SRC positions can be. So it's very, very difficult to win elections. The fact that you made it means that you're a hard worker. As you step into this new journey, remember that the road ahead will be challenging. Just as your hard work secured your place in the SRC, it will be the cornerstone of your success during your term in office. So here's my advice: maintain your commitment, maintain your dedication and work ethic, and you will undoubtedly deliver the outcomes that you and your fellow members aspire to achieve. Number 2, your election demonstrates that your peers trust you to represent their voices, to represent their aspirations, and to represent their concerns. As you embark on this journey, bear in mind that this trust is a precious commodity that must be nurtured and upheld. Uphold the integrity of your position by remaining true to your promises and by advocating for your fellow students with unwavering dedication. Let your actions reflect the trust placed in you, ensuring that you stand as unwavering advocates for your constituents. Number 3, student leadership is not a path for the faint-hearted. It demands resilience, commitment, and time. And so your willingness to take on this role amidst your academic commitments shows that you are smart and can manage your time well. I'm making that assumption. Anyone who raises their hand for election believes in their ability to take on their academics and leadership. We do not want chance takers. So I believe everyone that is elected is in good academic standing and is ready to take on this task. Amidst the challenges of student leadership, I beg you not to lose sight of your primary goal, your education. After all, that's why you came here. So stay focused on your studies because the knowledge you acquire today will equip you to lead effectively tomorrow. Of course, if I had time, I would talk about the difference between education and a certificate, or educating an education and getting a qualification. But I'm not going to focus on that. But I just want you to focus on paying attention on your education. Because education in a university environment happens everywhere. It happens in the tennis court, in the laboratory, in the lecture hall, on the picket line, everywhere. Education happens. So you've got to grab that. Remember that South Africa's progress hinges on educated leaders who can bring about meaningful change. We desperately need educated leaders in this country. So you are the ones we are relying upon. Number 4, your willingness to step forward, to face the challenges that lie ahead, and to take on the responsibilities of student leadership shows that you are courageous young people. This is because student leadership will require you to stand up for your fellow students, and it can be a bit uncomfortable, or if I like, I can say hard and pressuring. But this courage is not mere bravery or audacity. It is the quality that empowers you to confront obstacles head on, to voice uncomfortable truths, and to pioneer change, even in the face of adversity. This courage is what sets you apart as leaders capable of making a tangible impact. Number 5, remember I said five things that it means if you're taking on this leadership. Your election is testament to your commitment to social justice. It shows that you are a selfless human being, and that's exactly what we need for the future of our country. We need people who can put the interest of others before theirs in the pursuit of social justice. The fact that you are here today, ready to undertake the responsibilities of student leadership, symbolizes South Africa's future. This nation needs leaders who are educated, empathetic, and attuned to the needs of its people. The decisions you make will leave a long-lasting mark on our society. So as you navigate your role in the SRC, remember that your leadership goes beyond the UFS, or goes beyond even the Qwaqwa borders. It has the potential to transform the fabric of our country. Today, we have thousands of young people from poor backgrounds across the country accessing university education for which they are not paying for, because of young people who decided to organize for the greater good. Some of them paid a huge price in that process. You may be a council of just 15 students on the SRC, but the power you hold is not in how many you are, but how many people you are representing. I hope you use this power wisely for the greater good. So as we delve into today's lecture, let us first acknowledge the rich differences that students bring with them when they step into the university. They come bearing a rich tapestry of attributes that encompass more than just their political affiliations and ideologies. They represent the diversity of humanity, woven from strands of race, gender, religion, social class, values, backgrounds, experiences, and aspirations. I often say a university is a microcosm of where these multifaceted attributes converge, creating a vibrant tapestry of perspectives that hold a lot of potential to drive transformative change. We know that basic education is sort of divided. It's polarized, there's private, public, and so the rich and the poor in this country walk in parallel for 12 years through their basic education. And at university is when they converge. So when you sit in class, you're sitting with people from different walks of life, and they're there with you because you have same interests and you were accepted because your academic results qualified you to do. So there's lots of difference. And taking these differences into account, students then step into leadership and are forced to interact. These differences, rather than being divisive, should be seen as assets that enrich the tapestry of ideas and opinions, thus creating a fertile ground for innovation and progress in student leadership. This rich diversity is not a challenge to be overcome, but a strength to be harnessed. However, collaboration is the key to unlocking this strength. Student leaders, despite their differing affiliations and backgrounds, must recognize their shared purpose is to champion the rights and interests of the student body. By leveraging their unique perspectives, they can devise more comprehensive and inclusive strategies to address the multifarious challenges that students face. The unity that emerges from this collaboration of people from different perspectives is not a uniformity of thought, but a convergence of aspirations towards a common goal, a better educational experience for all. In our society today, it is very rare, actually, to find people who believe in different things, who pray to different gods, who have different political ideology in the same room, having a conversation or a debate amicably. People are divided into political parties, into churches, into religious beliefs, into a whole lot of things. In fact, I argue that the university is probably the only place where you have people with different perspectives, different beliefs, different whatever, where they can sit in the same place, or they should be able to sit in the same place, have a conversation or a debate, and listen to each other and actually understand the difference. Hearing a dissenting voice can be valuable. Okay, now, that's the second phone ringing. Here's my advice. I love phones and I love music. So, if your phone ring is a beautiful orchestra, then you can leave it on. But if it's just an ordinary ring like that one and the one before, I ask that you switch it off. Because that one, we will not give it a moment of silence. But if it's a beautiful orchestra, we will pause and enjoy that orchestra. You got me? So I'm not against the ring, just as it has to be good enough. You know, it's very easy to agree when we have similar viewpoints. But the essence of growth lies in finding common growth amidst differences. And that's what universities are about. We don't come together because we agree. In fact, sometimes you are in a department, you want to hire somebody who goes against the grain because they will strengthen the department. Yes, in proper universities, that's what you do. You don't want everybody preaching the same thing because then nobody helps people sharpen their ideas. Collaboration is key, and it must extend beyond student leadership. It must include university management, organized labor, and so on. The collaboration between student leaders and university management is pivotal. Management should never just see the SRC when there's a protest. You know, when I was VC of UCT, it was mandatory that every month the executive, I mean the entire executive, meets with the SRC. So some people refused, I dragged them kicking and screaming. The student decided on the agenda. It's not always comfortable, but it's actually better to sit with the students and hear them before they force you to hear them. The partnership between management and SRC is not a partnership of mere convenience. And it's not a partnership where we go in to tell students what to do. But it's a symbiotic relationship where the wisdom of experience merges with the vigor of innovation. University management can provide the institutional memory and resources necessary to implement change effectively, while student leaders bring forth the dynamism of fresh ideas and the pulse of current needs. Likewise, the engagement with organized labor adds another dimension to this collaboration, ensuring that the voices of those who maintain the university's operations are also heard and valued. At the heart of this collaboration is the principle of active listening, particularly to dissenting voices. Considering our diversity, dissent is inevitable. The university is not just a place of learning, it is a place of ideas. In such a space, dissent is not an aberration. It is an essential ingredient for growth and progress. Student leaders and management should embrace differing viewpoints as opportunities for reflection and refinement. Through dialogue, even the most opposing perspectives can find common ground, and innovative solutions can emerge from debate. As someone who has walked the path of university management, I didn't always agree with students and organized labor. However, I always recognized the importance of listening to their concerns and opinions. More often than not, these interactions illuminated blind spots in my understanding and shed light on things have often in history been at the forefront of many progressive changes in many societies which have led to greater good and human development. Please note that I'm hardly making the point that student activism is always good, progressive, and good for society, because it is sometimes discomforting and at times problematic. But the argument that I'm making is student activism is very important. It has to be there. I promise you, if it's not there, we are going to have something else that's more problematic. I was talking to some other group and I said, don't complain that the student activism. It has to be there. Because if it's not there, we might sit with a much bigger problem. The conduct of students is also discomforting because it often forces society to re-examine notions which are considered settled, unchangeable, and holy cows by society. That's why adults don't like activism. It's like you are poking, but no, refer it to 1965, please. We, the activists of the 80s, we have settled that. No, nothing is settled. And young people will bring it up. So that's why activism makes adults uncomfortable. It's because it unearths some of these unsettled issues. In spite of the inconsistent outcomes of student activism, all universities would be poorer if they did not open space for and encourage student activism and engagement with all the issues which affect society. This is just it is just as important a measure of their development as is their academic performance. The university must aim to produce students who are technically competent in the chosen field of endeavor, while equipping them with an understanding, caring, and engagement with the complexities which make up society. This is particularly true if one is, as I am, in support of a deliberative, participative, and engaged democracy. This is a democracy which goes beyond electoral democracy, but is equally dependent on an active, involved, and engaged citizenry. A citizenry that not only holds its elected representatives actively accountable, but one that also individually and collectively shoulders the responsibility of creating a better, fairer, and more prosperous society in equal measure. Not only will our universities be poorer if its students are cowed, docile, quiet, and uncritical, but also will our society. So we'll have weak universities and we'll have weak society. If activist students will not be heard, then there is no chance that active citizens elsewhere in our society will be heard. After all, the establishment in most societies often grows numb with time. It becomes deaf to the voices of its powerless majority and dismissive of the powerless as senseless and reckless. The first order of business for the establishment is self-preservation. Self-preservation for themselves and the establishment. That's what the establishment looks after. They look after themselves. And that's why the establishment is always hard at work to recruit people into itself so that you join in the self-preservation for themselves and the establishment. And this happens to businesses, it happens in universities, and it happens in governments. Assimilation is a big game into the establishment. We must all be the same. You come with a different way of doing things. What is she doing? Doesn't she know how vice chancellors should behave? Weird. Like, where's the memo? Who said there's a manual? It's because you're not assimilating to the establishment. Progressive leaders in every sector of our society, including universities, business, and government, need to actively temper their necessary preoccupation with the protection and advancement of the real and material interests of their institutions, with a healthy dose of empathy for the dictates of as unequal and in need of change a society we are. Progressive leaders need to simultaneously keep an eye on the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flows, while cultivating a deep empathy for the weak and vulnerable in their midst. They shouldn't just do one, they should do both. They can't make a bad financial decision that sacrifices the weak and the vulnerable and tell us it's because of the balance sheet. Or just do this. They've got to keep an eye on both. And that's the task of leadership. And this is a critical requirement for steering not only our universities, but companies and country away from ever-increasing conflict and unease towards a society which, even though it has difficult and stubborn challenges, has broad buy-in of society on its honest and determined attempts to find solutions. This will create room, space, and patience for the difficult task of creating a fairer, inclusive, and prosperous society we all desire. We all want a just society. We all want a prosperous society. We don't want to see inequality. We don't want to see poverty. And so we've got to come together and say, how do we build this? And I remember one day asking my students at GCT, let's talk about the costs of social justice and how we are going to fund social justice. Because it's not free either in this capitalist country of ours. In return, students need to accept and understand that they can pursue activism without undermining the rights of others who hold a different view from their own. They must shun hate and intolerance. By the way, when you make noise for me and I'm in my office, I don't think you are breaking my rights. When you are singing there and dancing, you are toy-toying. You are not trampling all over my rights. You are just making noise. It's too loud for me, maybe, but it's not. You're not trampling all over my rights. So don't be fooled, guys. Students must shun hate and intolerance. They must encourage robust debate and engagement, even on divisive and difficult issues. We should do away with situations where, when you disagree, you start throwing chairs at each other. At university, I want the people I disagree with in the room. Let me tell you something. In academia, when they say your research has got impact, and they look at the citations, they look at how many people are citing your work. They don't only look at people who are citing your work because they agree with it. They only look at people who cite your work. Whether they agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. And here's why. Only work that matters is worth disagreeing with. Yes, we don't disagree with nonsense. We just leave it. We ignore you. And that's why when you have written a paper, nobody is citing you. Your work has got no impact. You can tell us that you publish so much. We're like, no, it's so useless. We go on as if it never happened. So listen, guys, if you are sitting and you're contesting or you are discussing an issue and people have different views, if they're engaging your issue, it means you are relevant. Don't chase them away. Leave them in the room and keep quiet. Let them talk. As they talk, by the way, they're criticizing you. You are listening when you are sharpening your idea. When you come, boom, it means you are relevant. Irrelevant people. Even in politics, there are irrelevant people who talk. We don't say anything. Life goes on as if they never said. So in academia, when they say your work has impact, that's what they mean. People who disagree with you and those who agree with you, they cite your work. And if anyone does work in your area and they would say, your work is incomplete because you haven't cited Phakeng. Yes, there are students who are told that in the world, right? They don't say because you disagree with Phakeng. No. Basically what your supervisor is saying is that whether you disagree or agree with Phakeng, you've got to show that you know Phakeng. So Phakeng must appear in your thesis. Otherwise your work is incomplete. Yes. So you don't chase away away people who disagree with you. You leave them in the room, you call them, they must come here, they sit, you say your say. That's why it is important to listen to people you don't agree with. It's not like you are giving them platform, whatever. So that's why I am not supportive of the cancel culture. No, I don't support cancel culture, because cancel culture says we must all agree. We will only listen to you because we agree with you. Kanti, when I'm really a hard leader in my area and I know what I'm doing, I want the people who don't agree with me. Come, say your say, and then we can talk. And then you can know why I disagree. Maybe you'll come over to me. If you think you're strong enough, then you can also hope I come over to you. But you don't close out the voices you disagree with. If we do that, we are killing our universities. They stop being universities, they become churches. Because you know what happens in church? If you say anything that goes against, they excommunicate you. The Bible says so. They must excommunicate you. A university is not a church. We are not supposed to agree. So we said, so I'm an academic through and through. And that's why I don't mind sitting in a room with students who are angry at me and they are doing things. I listen and, that I can go to the building that they are occupying. And management is scared to go. And I go and I sit and I go again tomorrow and I listen. Oh, okay. These are the issues. Wow. Okay, I don't take notes to say the police must now deal with that one. No. I go there to listen. In fact, I don't want them to be arrested. Because these are young people. I don't want them to be arrested. I'm here to educate them. They're learning the theories. They're learning to argue. They're learning. And I'm like, wow. They must actually thrive. Even if I don't agree with them, they must thrive. It's important that universities function that way. An effective student leader must understand that their cause would be better served if they can build a broad consensus among varied sections of the university in support of their cause. A real leader is not one who can best alienate others, but rather one who can win over their cause, even the doubting Thomases. So don't throw the doubting Thomases away. Let them come in. An effective student leader is not the one who best points fingers at others, but one who can build the widest consensus amongst the most. This is particularly so in South Africa, given our history and globally acknowledged excellence in nation building and conflict resolution. We dare not lose our descriptor as a nation with equal capacity to solve even the most intractable problems peacefully, but with an insistence on progressive outcomes. Thank you very much.
Wow. We have a powerhouse in the house. I'm almost inclined to say Phagama, Prof Phakeng, ixesha lisoni. Phagama, Prof Phakeng, ixesha lisoni. Phagama, Prof Phakeng, ixesha lisoni. Phagama, SRC, ixesha lisoni. I think she deserves another round of applause. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a University of Free State student. I'm sure you guys are saying that. We are very grateful to have Prof in the house. We really appreciate people like her. I think it's time that